This is the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling.
What the world is watching.
Goldberg, right? You're probably like, he already had his retirement match with Gunther. We've already heard in the news that he wasn't happy with the way that he went out. So surely we can speak of Goldberg
Nevermore.
and just sort of move on, right?
It just doesn't matter.
Wrong. We're talking about Goldberg again. So let's talk about it. I'm about to break down Goldberg potentially becoming All Elite. This isn't even a rumor. This to me feels like a no-brainer. Now, Goldberg, in preparation for his retirement match against Gunther on Saturday night's main event, seemed like he had tweaked his knee a little bit. The guy works out like a machine. He's seemingly been working out like that for 26 years or something. So after a while, your body's going to be like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like, stop. Go sit down somewhere, you know? But Goldberg just seems to keep moving and moving. He's like literally trying to become Universal Soldier. If you know, you know. So in doing what he has done, and having a 15-minute match, which is, I don't know if it's tied for the longest match that he's ever had, but it's definitely close. He might have had a 21-minute match with Diamond Dallas Page, now that I'm thinking about it, but I'm not really sure off the top of my head. Definitely one of the longest matches that he's ever had in his career. Gunther made him look like a star. I mean, no offense to Goldberg, but obviously working a technical, drawn-out, story-based match in terms of conditioning, endurance, you know, all that, you know, that's just not his suit. He's in there to, you know, slang and bang, an 8-minute fast-paced affair where you're spamming finishers and then you get out of there. That's Goldberg's repertoire. You know, he's not one of those guys that's going to sit there and let somebody work on his knee for like 8 minutes or whatever and then have a grand comeback. That's never been Goldberg's forte. So, you know, working one of the longest matches he's ever had at his age, and also someone that doesn't wrestle regularly. I think it was like 3 years since the last Goldberg match up until his retirement. So I'm saying all of this to say, is Goldberg really retired, or should he go out on his own terms? Now, in terms of going out the way that you would want to, who better than to work with Tony Khan? Tony Khan, say what you will about Tony Khan, okay? He will let the legends go out on their own term. Tony Schiavone, he's not even retired yet, but he lets him go out there and have fun. Chris Jericho, he lets him go out there and have fun. Copeland lets him go out there and do his thing. He gives the legends the free reign, for better or worse, okay? I'm not, you know, hey, I'm not here for that conversation. For better or worse, he lets them go out there and have autonomy over their character development, their creative, maybe even some of the matches that they get to work. You know, like when CM Punk first came into the company, one of the first people that he wanted to wrestle was Darby Allin, right? So he lets these guys go out there and have fun and do what they do best. And in some terms, the company benefits from that. I mean, look at Sting's retirement. One of the best retirements that I've seen for a professional wrestler, I mean, ever, right? I mean, Ric Flair's was cringeworthy. I was afraid for the guy. I mean, didn't he literally have a heart attack in the middle of the ring? And the promotion and the coverage was rather poor. Am I right? I mean, Sting went out the way that you would want a legend like Sting to go out. So why not have Goldberg go out in that manner? Now, there's a couple of things that work in AEW's favor here. Number one, the money. I mean, Tony Khan has a lot of it, and he's seemingly carte blanche with the amount of money that he wants to put in to make a wrestler happy or to bring in the talent. Number two, well, they're on TBS. They're on TNT, the place where Goldberg became a household name. That's also in their favor. Tony Schiavone calling a Goldberg match. Are you kidding me? And you can also get Jim Ross to do the color commentary for that as well. So you have a number, and of course, number three, which is the best one, Atlanta, Georgia. Goldberg can go out again and have his retirement match in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, okay, forgive me for not knowing this off the top of my head. I didn't do any notes, as I rarely just kind of spit off the top of the head here. Not literally, but figuratively. The Georgia Dome. Is it still the Georgia Dome, or did they turn it into the Meyer Stadium or, FedEx Stadium or something like that? I don't know, or the FedEx Dome. I don't know what they did with the Georgia Dome. I don't know if it's still around. I haven't really heard about wrestling events happening there, so I don't know if they changed the name. But if it's still around, or whatever iteration it is now, you can potentially have Goldberg go out there. Now, that place, if you remember, or if you're young enough, you can do the Googles, and I'm sure you'll be able to come up with this on Cage Match or wherever you peruse for your professional wrestling history. You can go and type up Goldberg Hulk Hogan. That Hollywood Hulk Hogan, by the way. That was the match that really put Goldberg in the pantheon of the legend tier. He was undefeated. He battled Hollywood Hogan on Monday Nitro in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Georgia Dome. Record selling, sold out, ratings through the roof, and Goldberg was standing in the middle of the ring with the United States Championship and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Something that rarely happens, where Hollywood Hogan is on his back for the 3 count. That rarely happened, especially on a Nitro. That instance right there, which I believe should have been on a pay-per-view, that is neither here nor there, and we'll get to that later because there's some kind of parallel going on with that. He was standing victorious on Monday Nitro, historic moment. Why not go out like that again? Why not go out in a moment where he can truly get his speech, where Tony Khan can stretch AEW Dynamite's time, have that overrun, and give Goldberg the spotlight? I think it could be really well done. I don't think Doug Dillinger, I don't think Diamond Dallas Page are beholden to the WWE. You can also bring them back. You can bring Sting back out. There are a number of things that you can do to put Goldberg in a position to get the retirement match that he wants. Now, I'm sure you're asking, who would he face? Because AEW doesn't necessarily have the type of talent, nor is the type of talent that was available at that time where Goldberg was at his height in WCW is available to work the type of match that you would need to send Goldberg out happy. Aha, I have someone. Chris Jericho. Now, do the Googles if you're young enough, and if you want to go down that cage match rabbit hole. Chris Jericho and Goldberg have had a notorious feud with one another, personal and professional. Now, if there's anybody that can put his personal feelings aside, it would be Chris Jericho. Say what you will about the individual. He is working in the same building as MVP, and if you do the Googles and you do the news searches, you can find that those two don't really seem to be fond of one another. I mean, they almost came to physical blows twice. I think once on the Chris Jericho cruise and another at a hotel. Now, do the Googles and find that out yourself. But there is a thing with Chris Jericho, and he even said that about CM Punk. Those two really didn't get along, but they were able to work professionally under the same umbrella of the business. And for the time-honored tradition of the business, it is the right thing to do. And you can use some of that personal animosity to put a really good program together. Now, if you remember Chris Jericho, when he was in WCW, he had Ralphus with him. Now, I'm not sure if Ralphus passed. I don't want to say that he did, but if he did, God rest his soul. If not, it would be interesting to bring him back, but I honestly feel like he probably passed on. But Chris Jericho would come out and he would goad Goldberg into coming out to face him. Now, they had a couple of matches in WCW. Kind of an anticlimactic finish to their storyline because depending on who you talk to, it didn't seem like Goldberg really wanted to work with Chris Jericho at that time. So you can play off on that. Now, Goldberg and Chris Jericho is probably the best match that you can get for Goldberg in AEW. There's another option there, and that's MJF. Now, MJF against Goldberg, that's also a potential money-making match because MJF seemingly can work a great match with anyone. So you also have, if you want to go to the younger talent, if you want to put someone over on your way out, MJF would be the one that I would look for. If you want to do a historic match, a match that is remembered for its network, for its history with WCW, for the Tony Schiavone play-by-play, then you can do Chris Jericho as well. So like I said, there is options for Goldberg in AEW. He doesn't have to go and wrestle a guy that's going to do corkscrew planches or suicide dives or even try and cut him with a pizza cutter. You can actually have a match with Goldberg that has some resonance and also that can put over, new and upcoming talent like how he did with Gunther. So those are the options for you. Also, working in the favor of AEW is Tony Khan's fascination with Goldberg. Now, before Goldberg came back to the WWE and did his retirement, Goldberg was really close, depending on who you talk to, of course, was really close to signing with AEW. And then there were some things that I guess didn't go in his favor, and he spoke, a little unprofessionally about the way that it was going on in AEW and Tony Khan, but I'm sure he was trying to position himself for a retirement in the WWE because he probably felt like that was the best place for him. Obviously, he rolled the dice and got snake eyes because it didn't work for him, as he has said numerous times on Ariel Helwani and in other, networks and podcasts and whatnot. So Goldberg, if he does want to have a true retirement and he wants to go out on his terms, I am sure Tony Khan will be waiting there with open arms. I think it would be good for AEW. I think it would be good for Goldberg. Now, look, I'm not one of those guys that's like super into this idea, to be honest with you, but I have to talk about it because I think in terms of bringing more attention to AEW, I think it could only benefit them, right? And Tony Khan's track record with retirements, I think it works in his favor. I mean, I think it works to put this together for a one-night deal. And there are a number of AEW pay-per-views that I'm sure that they can do. I'm sure they can do an AEW Dynamite special with this as well. So, I mean, these are the options that are available to Goldberg. And, like I said, if you want to ask me personally, it can only be a good thing for Tony Khan. Now, for AEW and the type of product that they put on, I feel like AEW does a hodgepodge of everything. Now, they don't have the sort of branding or identity that would preclude them from not doing something like that because it doesn't fit with their brand or it doesn't work for their image. AEW, as somebody has said recently, and I can't remember who said it, they're like an ice cream stand. They have 31 flavors. They have every professional wrestling style, and they do it all. They do New Japan, they do hardcore, they do high flying, they do new style, they do modern, they do risque, they do it all. So by doing this, it helps their branding with TNT, TBS, and it helps them to get more eyes on the product. And it also helped them to kind of shove it to the WWE and say, like, this is how you let somebody retire and go out on their own terms. I think that'll help them in terms of bringing in some of those legends that are close to retiring and that maybe want to go out and do something fun creatively and not have a whole team that they have to talk to and write their promo or try to book the match that they think is best for business. So, hey, it's something to think about. I would really like to know what you guys think about that. Do you think Goldberg could be all elite? Do you think he can fit with AEW and do something and go out and retire on his own terms on Dynamite or on one of the pay-per-views that AEW puts on? Hey, they're trying to do bigger arenas for their pay-per-views. I mean, if they do something like whatever the Georgia Dome is called now in Atlanta, Georgia, or a big arena in Atlanta, I think they can sell some pretty good tickets for that with Goldberg at the header against Chris Jericho or MJF. So who do you think Goldberg would wrestle in his retirement? Do you think AEW would get Ryback and bring Ryback in? I couldn't say it with a straight face. I tried. If you can see me right now, I'm struggling to stay straight-faced here. Goldberg and Ryback in AEW? Oh my God, who has that on their bingo card? Well, whoever it is that you guys think, you guys let me know in the comments. As always, you guys, thank you so much for checking out. Thank you for listening. Tune in next time because the Wrestling Old Head is always going to be coming out of the portal of pro wrestling to talk about wrestling. Stay tuned for more, you guys.